Hello, everybody. Welcome to Wild Moments powered by explore.org. Very happy to be here with you. It is myself, Trishana, and we've got Ali with us too. Hi, Ali.
Hello, Trish. Lovely to see you again.
That was a very Ali is back in Hoedspruit. She was in the very sunny Cape Town for a little bit, but now she's back in Hoedspruit, where I'm sure it's much warmer.
It is. It's wonderful.
It is. So not too much has been happening on the cams, but we decided that it's Wild Dog Day tomorrow, and so that we thought we'd go through some of the best wild dog clips that we've had over the, I don't know what period, but definitely wild dog clips, and especially some wild dog puppies. So I'm very, very excited. Wild dogs deserve a lot of attention. They're not an animal that all of us really get to see often. Ali and I have been very lucky that we've seen many, many wild dogs, but we just happen to be in the right place to find them. But for many people, and also it's an endangered species, so for many people, they come to Africa and come to southern Africa and to the Sabi Sands to see wild dogs. Oh, or at least that low-felt area, and some are not so lucky, but we have been, and at least we have cams that can share the experience with all of you. Now, let us get through some hellos first. So we have Rolling Trouble saying hello Trishala and Ali from Washington State. We have Tris Isop says hello Trishala and Ali, and all the viewers from a hot and sunny Poland. How wonderful. That's lovely. Zygote,
wow.
Of course, says hi Africam, Trishala and Ali. Aussie Jan is here. Hello from Australia, coffee and all, she says. Oh, I thought Ali was going to join you there with a coffee, but it looks like tea. And then we have Grumpy Old Man.
I thought about it. I did think about it.
And Michael S. says hello and good morning from North Carolina. And we have Suki V who says afternoon greetings from at last UK. Well done, Suki V. Very happy for you guys to get some rain. Amber.co says happy Thursday, everyone. Ready for another special show. +1. Who's your +1, Amber? And then Bethany Ann says hello, everyone. Nice. Now we can get going and look at some of the first one, as Grumpy said, puppies. So let's have a look at some puppies, the cam that we had here. Oh! So amazing. What a privilege. So this is a mobile cam. This is not a cam that we have set up permanently. And it's in Baluli at a wild dog dance. This was around November, December. Oh, what a delight. This is such a privilege. Oh, I always find that wild dog adults seem to play with the cubs quite a lot. And that's what we see here.
They're always quite playful, aren't they?
Oh, incoming. course. The more clips, you can see how different the environment is now. And they clearly look a little bit older. Their legs have started to get distinct patches on it. How did that make you feel, Ellie? I think we've lost Ellie briefly, or maybe lost both of us. I'm sorry. Hi, Ellie. Are you back?
Hi. Well, I didn't know I had left, but it's good to know.
I was just asking how did you like that sighting? How did it make you feel?
It was beautiful. I mean, anytime you've got young ones and the adults interacting, it's quite something. And in wild dogs in particular, I don't think we can undersell just how sociable they are and how much they interact with one another. It's actually pretty special to see. And one of the best things about wild dogs is that generally they have a lot of pups, so there's always chaos. There's something running around, or someone's always running around and they're always being naughty. And if this one just gets tired, then there's another 15 of them. Or how with the adults, and then just being somewhat well behaved altogether.
It is. It is. It's like you said, they're so social, and you often see the adults playing with them, and I love that because they'll like chase them and nip after them. It's just such a privilege, and to be able to have a cam at a den is amazing. I mean, there we saw five pups, um, and like Ali said, they can have a lot of puppies. Um, and I remember, Ali, I'm not sure if you were there in Savisan around that time, but there were the pack with 12 puppies.
Mm, yeah, they were very cool.
Insane. Running around the vehicle, just everybody's playing with them. And I remember that there was a sighting that happened to be on a road, but it's so difficult to follow after them sometimes. So we were so privileged that the puppies were all left just on the side of the road while the adults had gone out and were hunting. They were still in the same area, but we could see the adults there, but the puppies. And then the alpha male comes running in, who is the likely father, like 99% chance he's the father of them, comes running in and just playing with these guys. It was such an amazing sighting. And they're all very excited, tails are all up in the air, and interacting with their dad. So lovely. So now we have a couple more hellos before we move on to our next clip. We have Tammy that says, "Hello, everyone." Charles B says, "Hello from Georgia, the USA." Bill Groom said, "Good morning, everyone," from South Carolina. Good morning to you. Ooh, we have it. Oh, and then we have Spas who says, "Wow, Baluli Cam with Wild. This a new cam?" No, Spas. Sorry, I read your name in Cyrillic, but if I had to say it in English, it's Sinak, and I know that you're known as both of those. But it's not a new cam; it was a mobile cam, so it was just there for that certain period. And then we have Zygote who says that was a good sighting, and then Michael S loves the colors of them. And then, okay, Sinak, you also want to know how old these cups are. So if we have, maybe we could just watch the portion because they seem to be different ages for both those clips. So if we watch just a little bit of the beginning clip again, we'll be able to tell. Already we know that they're outside of the den. So they're most likely, at least 5 weeks old, I would say. I mean, they're out of the den by the time, yeah, by around that time. Um, Even a little earlier, by about 2 weeks, they should be out, or they could be out rather. I think in terms of size, they're pretty small, and they're obviously not weaned yet, and they're going to be weaned at like I think about 5 weeks, 5 or 6 weeks. So, what do you think, Ali? I
Yeah,
would put them at about
so I would say the
three.
same. I would have put them at around about like 2 months old,
Yeah,
somewhere there.
Yeah. Oh, look at that one digging on the side. See, this is why I love these sightings. Like Ali was saying, they're all over the place. So if you watch the clip again and again, you're going to see another little exciting bit, like finding a little new treasure.
But it's funny also seeing them. It's the same when you see them in real life. You don't know where to look. They're always busy, unless of course they're having a nap, in which case there's nothing to do. But when they're up and moving, it's one of the reasons why wild dogs are so difficult to see in the wild, because once they get active, they just go and they move and they hunt and they go this way and then they turn around and they go somewhere else, and this is pretty much what they do. So actually having a den is one of the coolest things, because then you know they're going to be stuck in that area for at least a couple of months while the little ones grow, be old enough to. Because other than that, it's very hard to actually follow wild dogs. It's the reason why they've got a reputation. I mean, I don't even know which ones I like better, the ones that want to climb to the top of the mound or the one that is just like free jumping.
Oh, adorable. So here they look, if I could say, a little duller, like their coat, than the time where we have the slightly more green vegetation around them, which is a little bit later on in the script. So I think, yeah, I would agree with you. There's somewhere between, like, I would say
Yeah,
4 or 5 weeks. I'd say
yeah.
about 5 weeks. I mean, really.
And here I would say maybe, 4 months or so, you can see they're much bigger, much more mobile.
And taller. Like you can see that they almost look a little bit lanky. Very
They're
cute.
adorable.
Uh, let's get through a few more. We have Lisa White that says good morning. Hi, Lisa White. We've got Frank Patience who says good morning from upstate New York. Good morning. And we've got Cassidy Mitchell who says good morning from Tupelo. I was going to say Tulepo, and I was like, that's a strange name. Tupelo, Mississippi. Mary Momo says hi, all from Hot Springs, Arkansas. Great. So glad that you all join us from all different parts of the world. It's amazing, especially when we're talking about wild dogs. Anyway, let's move on to another clip that is a visitor that has come to the den. I love it when warthogs move around near dens, like even around the hyena den, you'll see them sniffing about. That's because they all use similar structures for burrows. Like here, obviously, oh, look at this.
They're too funny, warthogs.
Yeah, big one. Check it out for yourself. Go and check it out.
Brave little one. Oh, yeah, the parents come. Oopsie. I mean, that's a massive warthog, actually, the one that is at the back. He's got some really big tusks.
Yeah, yeah, he is huge.
It's probably why the adults are hesitating a little bit to actually be more aggressive. While a warthog with those tusks is no easy opponent.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And they're also they. I mean, apart from the tusks, they're really formidable animals.
Like in this case, like the warthogs are not really a threat to the little ones, and the adults are really not gonna start hunting warthogs. But there's everything thing that they've been putting their effort in for months. So anything that comes around a den, there's always going to be tension. There's always going to be heightened states for all the animals. There's always going to be stress levels because what is a warthog going to do? Is it by mistake, or is going to attack a little one, or the little one's going to come out? Do the adults want to chase it? Do they want to get injured? So there are many things that actually run through their minds when they're in this kind of situations.
Yeah, and like you said, that's their investment. So as much as they don't want to sacrifice themselves or hurt themselves by engaging with the warthog, there's still a lot of stress going on because it's unpredictable.
Mm-hmm.
And that was a big
Exactly.
warthog. So we have some interesting questions. Well, firstly, Kathy Barton says that she's in need of a new puppy in her life and that we should go get one for her. I'm not sure about that, Kathy Barton. Perhaps we can get you a ridgeback or a boerboel, two species found in southern Africa that you can actually purchase. and, and then, okay, so we have a couple questions. Suki V says, "What is the survival rate of the pups?" So, if you understand with this particular pack, so there are 5 pups, but now only seems to be 3, and they haven't seen them in a while. And I also remember that pack that I was telling you about, where we had the 12 puppies. It very quickly became 8 puppies, and then quickly became about 6, and I think only 4 or so were left. In general, with predators, it's the 50% survival rate, but I think it might be a little bit lower for wild dogs. What do you think, Ali?
I think it's actually a little bit higher for wild dogs. Generally, species like wild dogs and cheetahs that tend to have a lot more offspring. It's sadly due to the fact that they are likely going to lose a bunch of them in the process of raising them. So for any young animal, and I'm talking from, lions to elephants to everything in between, generally the first year of life is the hardest. So if you kind of actually almost make it through the first year of life, then your chances of survival improve greatly. But I think wild dogs are actually between 50 and 60. So they don't tend to do too well, and they're very susceptible, not only as pups, for other predators like lions are a big threat to wild dog pups, but also to human diseases. I don't know exactly where in Baluli the camera was, but Baluli, the western edge is just next to a national highway. So unfortunately, those dogs, you cannot keep wild dogs contained. They come in and out of the reserves. Local communities for any of the diseases of our domestic dogs, and then that generally leads to the entire pack disappearing.
Yeah, we lost you for a little bit there, but I think we got the general gist of what you were saying. And then we have some very interesting questions. Stuck in bed, I'll get to your question in a moment because that is the stuff, I guess, why we have International Wild Dog Day. But first, let's go to Zygotes. It says, can't they smell the dogs, the warthogs? They definitely can smell the dogs. It's just that it obviously didn't seem to bother them very much. And especially the one that went to investigate the hole up close could definitely smell the puppies. And also, can you imagine having 5 pups living in a burrow and constantly in there? So for 3 weeks they've been stuck in that burrow. Now they're out of the burrow. It's going to really smell like them a lot. And wild dogs have a particular smell. In fact, I will tell you a story about Ali. I was training. It was just during the time that we were training. We had just started. And it was the first time, I think, that Ali had taken us out to have a look. And it was in the middle of the day, and somebody had spotted wild dogs. And then we were going to go look for the wild dogs. And we drove around, wild dogs. And it's so hard as they move so quickly and cover such great distance. And the traverse area that we had at the time was small on that end, on the western end. So could have not been there, could have been there. So we got out of the vehicle and we were all walking around looking for tracks. And Ali had a hat on. And she's like, oh, I can smell them. I can smell them. And at that point, I was like, I mean, what are they like? Dogs? I don't know. And then Annie points at the bush, comes running towards the vehicle, holding her hat, saying, puppies, puppies. It was very cute.
I was very excited. I found them by smell. I try, and more often than not, that's actually the way that I managed to find wild dogs, is just by sniffing them.
No, absolutely, because now, I mean, after being there for several years, but once you smell that smell once, you know it and you can pick it up. Sometimes you'll be driving along the road and be like, wild dogs were here. Probably not here right now,
Mm-hmm.
but they were here.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and then we have Susan Day, who says, good morning from Oregon. Good morning, Susan. I'm not sure what that question is. So we'll move on to our next clip for now while I get some clarity. So the next one we're going to see is also something related a lot to in wild dogs in particular, and it's a wild dog with a snare, unfortunately. So this was also from a mobile cam last year sometime. And this cam was placed here at an impala kill. A snare can also be very difficult to pick because, or to pick out in an image or in a clip, because it's sometimes very skinny, and then oftentimes very skinny. Oh, but there you could see
Yeah,
it
you
because
could
it's starting to connect.
They're always so nervous when they feed. They know they stand at the bottom of the food chain, so they've got to feed quickly and just got to be alert at all times, because just very easily a lion or a leopard might come around.
Yeah, absolutely. And unfortunately, when it comes to weight advantage, they don't really have an advantage. They're quite light animals, but I think it's the largest canid that we get in Africa compared to everybody else. They're quite large, 18 to like 30 kgs or so, something around there. I have to think back to when Ali was teaching me. So, so clearly we saw. So the fur, you could see that the fur, there was a break in the fur, and that's where the snare was. And the snare is usually, I wouldn't say any particular category of people, but people. It's a man-made object, and it's to be able to catch wild dogs. And often it's usually people who own farmland, because the wild dogs are taking a lot of their cattle and things like that. And it's quite a complex situation. And it comes back to what Stuck in Bed was asking about. Then I'll get now, what is the outlook for them? Are they going to escape extinction? So important to talk about first, there's their threats. And this is one that we saw right now. It's the purposeful hunting or capturing of wild dogs in defense of people's cattle, usually. The other thing would be habitat fragmentation. Strangely, uh, climate change is also could be a problem for them, or pose a problem for them. I say so when it comes to climate change. Obviously, it's a difference in temperature that's happening globally as a result of human influences. So there might be, an animal living at the equator or living in Antarctica that's living at the absolute edge of its range, and then climate change gives it a moment to relax. So it's important to know that it's not always it's not going to kill off, but there's some animals it's going to affect a lot than other animals. And so maybe I remember there being a reptile that lived near the equator, and I can't remember what reptile it was. I'm thinking back to university a long time ago. And the temperature increasing or decreasing for that animal in its particular range, which would have been what would have resulted out of climate change, would result in that animal having a more comfortable existence. I know it sounds strange, but anyway, when it comes to wild dogs, they're diurnal hunters. They overheat easily. They have a high endurance. They're running. They're coursing predators, so they run a lot, and they run fast. And the hottest part of the day is where they're relaxing and they're chilling under shade. So if that hottest part of the day becomes longer and longer and longer, the periods in which they hunt become shorter and shorter and shorter. So it's one of the species that's often um, quoted in a lot of scientific texts about this macro animal. This is a megafauna animal, not thinking about insects and reptiles and small animals that people often don't pay much attention to. But this is a larger animal that is cute and cuddly. It could be a flagship species for climate change and the negative impacts of climate change. That's also something that affects them. Not as much right now, but in the future it can get worse. Anything to add to that, Ellie? I think I missed out one as well.
I think just the human or not, well, the impact that domestic animals have on them. I mean, a couple of years ago, we had entire packs across the Kruger National Park. There was a big distemper outbreak, and I think it was maybe 2 or 3 packs that were completely wiped. Make the survival chances of the entire population. So don't bring the wrong animals into national parks. Don't, and it's why a lot of game reserves across the world are big on helping local communities protected. So not only wild dogs are susceptible to those diseases, but it has a more negative influence on them, or a more obvious repercussion on their population.
And sometimes you don't know what you're going to bring in is going to have an impact on the dogs until it happens, and by then it's too late. Yeah, and like you said, it's important for this population because it's an endangered species, and things can go south very quickly. So better to be safe than sorry. Anyway, Andy says, Ali, you were right on the money. The den was on the west side of Bululi. So you were on the money.
Look at that.
And then Rolling Trouble says, oh, that smell. We know that smell now. And then Zygote says, you've seen them entering hyena dens too. I'm just trying to think about if I've ever seen them enter hyena dens. No, I haven't, but I wouldn't be surprised if they tried. Have you, Ali?
I haven't seen them at the same time. I'm pretty sure they wouldn't mind sharing dens that are empty, that are used by the one, and then the following season by the other one, but I haven't seen them do that. Wouldn't be surprised, though.
Yeah, definitely wouldn't surprise me. They're curious. And, when you have a pack mentality, you can be quite brave. I know this. Anyway, let us move on to our last clip quickly before we have to say goodbye to you. And that's the same pack we saw denning, just chilling.
Look at those full stomachs.
Oh, so good. They have such beautiful coats.
They're all drinking and having a bath. Clever.
They're also drinking
with
the
what
bath water.
Yeah, sorry, Trisha. I think I interrupted you there, but I just wanted to point out that it ties in very nicely with what you were saying about climate change. Wild dogs are known to just chill in the water like hyenas a lot of the times, just to cool down in the heat of the day.
Yeah, I mean, this is a great example. Oh, listen to that. Something spooked them.
They are very beautiful
Something feels
creatures, and you
so.
can recognize individuals just by looking at their patterns on their coats.
Absolutely. And now they're going to sit down in a bush, very similar to the one that Ali found those wild dogs. Always looking for a patch of shade, and so difficult to see them when they're in a patch of shade because they're flat. And no doubt, after a good to cool down and after a nice drink, shade sounds really good. It's also interesting to note that because they produce a lot of heat from running and all this movement that they're doing, and also they don't have territory, so they have these huge home ranges that they're moving through. So a lot of movement is happening, and they have to cool themselves down somehow, apart from just panting and being able to sit in a nice cool water is great. Also because so lots of animals have different layers of fur, different types of hairs that make up the fur. So usually there's like a downy coat, and then there's a second kind of hair that's halfway between down and what we call a guard hair, and then there's the guard hair, which is the waterproof kind of wiry hair. So with wild dogs, they actually don't have a downy coat underneath to keep them warm. They just have the sparse um, guard hair, which is the hairs that give it color. When they sit in the water, it must really touch their skin so nice, keep them nice and cool. Anyway, we have a lots of hello. I was about to say lots of hellos, not lots of hellos, lots of thank yous. Thank you all for spending today talking about the wild dogs with us. And if you're wondering what you can do to support wild dogs and wild dog conservation, you can also have wild dog conversations. Just had to throw that in. But there are lots of little organizations, big and small, that put a lot of money into wild dog conservation. One of the ones that I really like is called Down to the Wire, and they sell the jewelry made from snares, wild dog snares. Also, I think they're in Hoodspray. And then there's also a lot of artists and things like that. So there's a lot that you can do. Just have a bit of a Google, and then you can find out. And if you can't do any of those things, just go and read about them, watch a documentary on them, just learn more about them. Anyway, it's time for us to say goodbye. Thank you so much for joining Ali and I. We'll see you again soon.
See you